I just have a comment to answer Bobby. On page 36, blasting standards and regulations. I don't know if this answers your question totally, but item little I3 says responsible party for damages. All blasting shall follow best management practices. Damages caused by blasting to buildings, infrastructure, water, or sewer utilities, public and private, and any livestock or other animals within 1 mile of the site shall be sole responsibility of the permit holder to repair or replace. Now, there's a little bit more there, but it talks about a mile, which is 5,280 feet, which I'm going to try and address as we go through this as far as feet and miles and all that sort of thing. So we're on the same page as far as miles and feet, so we understand it. A lot of us think in terms of partial, quarter mile, half mile, and a mile, and we forget what our number of feet is. So I think it's a good idea to have that in it. But does that help, or?
Yeah,
A little bit.
I mean, that's good that that's a mile.
Yeah.
Other public comments or questions from anybody, please? Yes.
Can I try to answer Bobby's question here regarding blasting? He's probably one of the people that have the most experience in this room about blasting. I'm Chad Lisinski, I'm plant manager in Mississippi Sand. And yes, you will feel a blast at a quarter mile. Will it cause structure damage to your well or your house? Science says it won't. We place seismographs in fathers, right? 3 different times, no events ever triggered. We did the blast didn't even trigger the seismograph, so it was minimal. We've also placed seismograph by Kathy Lockington's regarding her concerns about her well.
Chad, I'm going to interrupt you. Just give me an example of the distance from where you're talking about to the Lockington residence.
Lockington residence, probably half a mile, I think, a little less, maybe a little more than half a mile from the site of the blast to her well, not her house, her well.
So just for the record, so there's no misunderstanding, a half a mile at 2,640 feet.
And her readings, a seismograph would trigger at a 0.02 vibration, and hers triggers about 0.03. Damage doesn't occur, they say, up to 1.75. That's the science behind it. I'm not an expert by any means, but
That's like 1/8 or 1/9.
it's exponential actually, so it's even more. The Z curve is an exponential curve,
Okay.
so.
Opportunities for public comments or questions? Yes.
My name is Dave Hesh. To answer Bobby's concern, all the blasting we did in the Supla sand pit, her house is probably the closest to our blasting. To this date, I see no damage. She felt it at her house, but you're gonna feel it. There's no documented damage that I know of. Seismographs was put in her yard every time. We didn't have any issues as far as I know where it would have come up by now. Second of all, my question is, if we're going to be so concerned about the sand industry, what's next? Are we going to go after Ashley, Golden Plum, Nelson Muffler? We're going to worry about seismographs for the railroad? We're going to worry about noise? Where does this end? Why are we picking on one industry, but we're not going to pick on the rest? Or are you going to start picking on the rest? That's a question I'd like to know.
Thank you. Comments, questions?
May I say something?
Sure.
Dave, in addressing your answer to Bobby Joe, I don't think that was her question, right?
Are you leading or are you asking?
I'm asking.
Good
Was-
answer.
I think you answered it. You said, can you feel it at a quarter mile? And he said, yes. And then he went on to explain the damage, and then Mr. Lisinski went on to explain the science behind it. I think it wasn't only an answer, it was a great answer.
But that wasn't my question. My question was about property values, not about damage to my property. It's hard to sell a house if
What's the
they
deal?
know it's going to shake from blasting. That was just my question, was a quarter mile the difference, not if my house is damaged.
Chris, would you verify the property value is, let's say that she does have difficulty selling her property, let's say her house is worth $150,000 and she is having difficulty selling it for $150,000, she lists it at $155,000 or something, and she has trouble selling it, what's the process at that point? Is there any property value or guarantee for her?
Depends how close her property is to the site. And as I explained earlier, the site is defined in the definitions section, so that's just not where the extraction or the blasting occurs. That's the whole non-metallic mining operation. That's the buildings, that's roads, that's where the berms are placed. So it's a quarter mile or about 1,336 feet from the edge of that site. If her property or her home is within that distance, then the process is that she can obtain an appraisal and the mining company obtains an appraisal. If they can't agree on the values, then they're more or less average. And if she can't sell her house, then there's basically two options for that appraised value. Option one is the mining company buys it at that appraised value and then they can sell it and do what they want to with it, or she can sell it to the highest bidder and the mining company makes up the difference so that she gets the fair market value of her house before the mine existed.
That sounds like a property value guarantee to me.
Right. It is a property value guarantee. It's within 1,336 feet of the site.
Is that what you were looking for, Bob?
I just wanted to know where you came up with the 1,336. I understood, and thank you for the explanation, yeah. It's a great property value, I love the way you guys
I'm
have
gonna
it
get down
written.
to everybody else here.
I just thought this would be one to that.
Where are you? The town of Lincoln has a half a mile property value guarantee to their land, to their surrounding landowners that High Crush gives. So I understand the process you guys went through, but I also believe a quarter of a mile isn't very far if you walk it or, you know, I'm just a thought, but it's, some of them are half a mile. That's all I want to say.
In the rural area.
For high, yeah, well, yeah, in a rural area.
If I may interject too, these are minimum standards, so if the zoning board of appeals wants to impose more strict requirements, they can do that as well.
Yeah, and I saw that in the back here, that at any time they can change this.
Okay. Opportunity for comments, questions. Yes,
Mike Chitko, town of Arcadia. In the mining ordinance, and again, talking about property value guarantees and distances. So let's say that the adjacent property owner wants to exercise their right and have the mining company buy that property out, or go down that way, the mining company wants to buy that, or buys that property, then does that, the size of that property, does that become the new border for the mining project? And do they have a new adjacent property owner, and does that right of property value guarantee extended out by the first adjacent property owner?
my best guess is that they'd be two different sites, wouldn't they, Chris?
It'd be different sites unless they decide to incorporate that new house as part of their project somehow, put a structure up there that would be used in the operation. Presuming they sell it to some other party, it's just that person's house, and that new person will get the property value guarantee because they're buying the structure knowing what they're going into, so.
Very good.
Yes, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you wanting, I thought I saw
Yeah,
you.
I want to just make a comment. Ivan Brodzinski, town of Arcadia. I know out on Key out there in Amber Lane, which is a new development there, that development, if you look across the road, is exposed to a sand mine. And if you look down the road, you're exposed to another sand mine. And they're also, if you look to the east, across the road, they're exposed to another 400-some acre sand mine there from Fremont Mineral. And those people that are buying the lots, and there's another lot that was sold last week, don't seem to have very much concern about the sand mine, that they're so close to the sand mine. And all three of those are you know, from sight. You know, whether it be Larry's just across the road or Fremont's just across the creek or Mississippi sand down the road. And those are not, you know, those are pretty nice homes that are going in there. And there's be a lot for probably 13 houses in that one there. Plus he had asked for more lots.
Thanks. Opportunity for public comments. Public comments or questions? Opportunity for public comments or questions? Ron, Mr. Baker, and Mrs. Dorschneck had an opportunity for a second one, and Mrs. Geske might have gotten maybe more than two, so go ahead.
This is strictly a comment, and that is for the current planning commission and the current city council to look back and see what your previous council has done for industry in this area and how the city has developed and how this community meeting Trimble County for work. We're in a situation where we've got a lot of transient people coming in and going back, which creates other problems. But that is sure that is a wonderful problem to have rather than not having jobs. For our people that are here and even our children to possibly come back and stay in this community for either higher corporate jobs or other normal jobs, for lack of the right terminology. So I really think and I hope that in your decision, we do not regress and say we don't want any other industry. I like to see industry come, whether it's in the town or in the city. We need that. Before we can build houses, we have to have jobs. And before we can build anything, we have to have jobs. So please take that into consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Questions or comments from the public? Yes, ma'am.
Anne Roy Point, City of Arcadia. I have a comment on Mr. Tushner's. If you open up the paper, we have a lot of jobs, ads for wanting employment in our community. We don't have enough people in this community to even fill those jobs. Golden Plumpet is one, Nelson Muffler, what are they now, and Ashley are always advertising, so I don't think it's for lack of jobs in our community that we are lacking.
I'd like to personally respond to that because I don't know how many people have worked more than one job in their lifetime. I'd have to put both hands up and maybe my feet too, because the average American, moves from one job or profession to the other, they say between 5 and 7 times, and some even more than that. If you've worked at Ashley and maybe you want to change, maybe you're an over-the-road driver and you said you want to live locally. Maybe when you started you were single and now you got yourself a lady friend with a couple of little ones and you decided you don't want to be home for 2 days a week or something like that. I don't think it's our job to say, okay, you've got your job right now, and because we don't have enough workforce, we are not going to allow for any more job creation or anything else. The free market takes care of itself. And I'm a free marketer. And you've got to trust business to create jobs and create benefits and draw and retain the people that they want. And if somebody decides to leave a job, that's their God-given right to put in their 2-week notice, you know, wish your former employer well and go on to something different. And that's the way it is, eh? I mean, you can't just say, Gary
I'm
Welch,
like-
you have to work here for the rest of your
That's
life.
not what I was saying, but I'm just saying there is a lot of employment in this community, you know, already. You open up the papers, we all see it. There shouldn't be any unemployment in this area, none whatsoever.
I agree with you, I've long said that if you don't have a job in Arcadia, Wisconsin, it's probably your own fault.
Correct.
And I think we're blessed with those jobs for a reason. And I think that's because of creating the right environment for the job creation and being willing to allow the entrepreneurial spirit to flourish. Yes, Mr. Haynes.
Roger Haynes, Town of Arcadia. I think alluding to what Ron is saying and what Dan is saying, Arcadia area has been pretty dang fortunate to have some major industry here. But a few months ago or whatever, there was a scare in Arcadia because Ashley was talking about doing something. Months before that, when the bird flu was going around through the chicken business and the turkey business, there was fear with the turkey or the chicken growers. What if it hits here? What if all of a sudden we're all shut down because of it? And we aren't able to rebuild our flocks for a given amount of months. Yes, we have low unemployment now, but that can change pretty doggone quick. So never turn away business, as Ron was saying, because you don't know the businesses that you have today, whether they'll be there next month, next year, or 2 years from now. Thank you.
In a quick follow-up response to that, I can promise you that as long as I'm here, I'm gonna support those businesses and do what I can to help keep those jobs here.
And I'm not saying that it's not being supported, but I'm saying what if anything can happen in the future?
And I think that we've got some really good pro-business folks up here, and you know, some of them have cast deciding votes to help support business. And you go back to when I was just a little John, there were some council members and leadership people that cast some votes that, you know, at the time it was rah, 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 but you know, God bless them for those votes, because we've got the corporate headquarters here in Arcadia, Wisconsin.
Right on.
You know, and I will never kowtow to anti-business. And you know what? Nothing else matters if you can't feed your kids and put a roof over your head. If you can't pay your electric bill, all the rest is crap. And I don't care what anybody says. You can't feed your kid, you can't take your kid to the doctor, and guess where you get that from? You get that from a job. And no matter what anybody else says, the job creators are that's the economic engine, the people that take the risk and go out there and create jobs. And anybody that's got a problem with that, all you gotta do is find me a table and we'll talk, because anybody that wants to squash jobs, shame on them.
In response to that question, the last question or the last statement, I should say, is we are currently seeing that now, with the downswing in the market for sand. So I get what you're saying about not squashing jobs and everything like that. That ebb and tide we have seen with this industry and other industries. So I just want to make that point, that there's an ebb and a tide also.
Sure. As with every business and industry.
Correct, and that's
You know,
why.
those horseshoers were doing great until that darn car come along. But go to Motor City and ask how things are doing. Opportunities for comment or question.
Can I have one more, being everybody else gets 2 or 3?
And just before you go, I don't want anybody to ever go away from these meetings saying, oh, I didn't get the opportunity to, because everybody's been given a very liberal minute. And one question is turned into 2, 3, 5, or whatever. So, like or hate the end results, the public has always, in many, many dozens of meetings, been given that opportunity. So, with the spirit of that, go ahead. Oh, hold on, Bill.
Thank you.
Okay.
To answer Ann's question, come to my courtroom once a month and you'll find out why we have a lot of people that aren't working. Because it's too easy to get unemployment, too easy to get welfare, and too easy to suck off the system. I have a prosecutor over here that'll verify exactly what I say. These people will come in, I can't even get them to do community service. They're too lazy. We all have to look at ourselves. We as the implement of this government have given away everything, and we gotta stop giving it away. That's why there's so many people out here that aren't looking for a job. It's too easy to get free money from wherever. That's why.
So I shouldn't be working 3?
You work for 3, otherwise we won't have enough money to give to the people that don't want to work.
I think that's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Maybe the only nice thing is that.
No. Was that a raise of the hand, Mr.
That was a
Ziegler?
raise of the hand.
Okay, so
I'm Jim Ziegler. I had 2 years' experience on the Buffalo County Board of Supervisors, serving on the zoning committee. And our instructions from the district attorney and from the corporate council in Buffalo County always was that you don't have to be Phi Beta Kappa people to serve on public service. That's why they call it public service. All you have to do is be honest in your appraisal, and your responsibility is to look out for the health, the safety, the welfare, which includes environmental and economic, of your citizens that you're in charge of. So, God bless you. I won't try to influence your decision either way, but wish you well, because if you're already working 3 jobs, what you need is 12 grandchildren.
well, I don't have any kids of my own, but I've been blessed with Cindy having 6, and with 6 kids, my guess is that 12 is not an unreachable number, so I'm knocking on wood. I have to go on record and saying, Mr. Ziegler, I think you're the first person that's not tried to influence the decision of me. So thank you for that.
And the reason why is because your meeting here tonight exactly resembles some of the 6.5 and 7-hour meetings we had in the Elma High School when the temperature was at least as hot out as it is tonight. And what was nice and refreshing about the whole process was that as a board member, you got to hear the pros and the cons, so that when you made a decision, you took into account having given the opportunity to both sides, and I appreciate that and I applaud. Thank you.
Well, I think just being able to hear the pros and the cons is exactly what led to this. Because if we would have gotten 5 people that are all, we want free-for-all sand, this isn't the document you would have gotten. And if you would have gotten 5 people that said we don't want any sand, this isn't the document that you would have gotten. What this is a compilation of the ongoing dialogue between all the meetings that we've had, the hearing from experts and the testimony and the data, and what people like or don't like. And obviously it's not going to be all one way or the other. Nobody's walking away. I like to say that compromise is the art of nobody getting what they want, because everybody has to give a little bit. And we have to, if we're going to be reasonable, whether it's as a citizen or as a representative or whatever, you've got to be reasonable and be willing to compromise. And if you kick that line in the sand and you say, hell no, I'm not compromising, well then you're not serving anybody. So, yes, ma'am.
Deb,
Hold on one second.
Brooke Engel. I don't have a question, I just have a comment to Ann Requines and Paper for Health in Ashley. I worked there for 9 years in the factory. And there's always jobs, but as soon as I hire somebody, there's the biggest high turnover in the factory. Once they go there, get trained and do it, it's too hard for them and they just quit because it's hard work and nobody wants to do it. I mean, there's times where I work 12 hours because second shift needs help because nobody wants to do it. So yeah, there's jobs that nobody wants to do it. It's hard work in the factory.
It was the same way when I worked with you in the nursing home.
Yeah, I mean, it's
And
hard
you
work
can
and
put their
nobody
name on
wants
an
to do it.
application.
So yeah, there's always jobs, but nobody wants to do it.
I pose a hypothetical question.
And the goals are paid.
If we were charged with rebuilding or building the world today, I'm not so certain that the population that we have, and I'm not saying everybody, but I'm wondering if we could rebuild what we've got today, because it would actually take hard work. I was out wood splitting with this guy a couple of weekends ago, and we talked about that. And I was sweating to beat hell out there. And he goes, yeah, imagine how they did it 60 years ago without this splitter. You know, and I'm wondering, could some of these people that can't last 8 hours down there, could they do it? I don't think they could.
There's
Saturday
people
morning,
driving
8
an hour,
o'clock.
hour and a half away.
Again?
Saturday morning, 8 o'clock, my place.
2 questions, what's for breakfast and what are you supplying
Bring
for a beverage?
Bring your chainsaw.
I figured that was the answer. It takes hard work to build a community, and it's not easy. And it's not easy to, you know, sit up here and take any pot shots either, because, you know, you seriously, it takes work.
And like, one more comment, not just Arcadia people work there, I mean, people drive from Eau Claire, Baroka, I mean, hour away to get a job in Arcadia because they want a job. So it's not just Arcadia coming here, I mean, an hour, hour and a half away, people are driving to go to work here.
To translate that into 3 words, we are blessed.
Yes.
I remember in August of 2011, I went down to Waverly, Ohio, and Waverly is a city of about 4,000 people and closely mirrors the city of Arcadia. Geographically, if you were to pick it up and take a Google Earth map photo of it and superimpose it over Arcadia, it's eerily similar, with the river going through and the large manufacturer. At their height in Waverly, they had a company, I think it's Mapco, that provided kitchen and bathroom cabinetry for Home Depot. And at the height of their business, they had 4,000 jobs. Sound familiar? The day that I was there in August of 11, the mayor down there, his hands were like this, and he was I've said this many times, he was holding his community together with duct tape and barn twine. He said their county had the worst unemployment, the highest foreclosure rate, the highest free and reduced meals in the state of Ohio we're talking about here. He said every other week we've got 1 or 2 mom and pop businesses that are closing. People are losing their homes. The day that we went there were 27 employees.